Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode we had the conference finals against the Anaheim Ducks, and we managed to beat them to advance to our second Stanley Cup Finals of the series, where we're going to be taking on the 39-31-12 Buffalo Sabres, who actually look a lot better than that record suggests. Now, we had a very good time in the conference finals with Anaheim. I did a lot better against them than I actually expected, considering our team was pretty close on paper to theirs, but they actually also had some very good players on like their top six and all that type of thing, very good center depth. But you can see we won game 1 3-1, then we lost 6-5, and it was like, oh no, maybe we're gonna go back into maybe more of an offensive based series. Well, it was more offensive for us, that was, because we win 4-0 with a good response from Gabriel Deg after he let in 6 goals. Then we win 8-2 in Anaheim, which is an absolutely huge win, and we win 6-0 to close out the series. Now, we had a couple of huge periods in that round as well. One of them we scored like 6 goals in, the other one we scored 5 goals in. It was an absolute slaughter fest on the offensive side of things, and who knows what we could do against Buffalo. Buffalo's been very good in this playoff run. They're also 12-3, just like us, despite having a very mid record during the regular season. Like, I don't know how they've gotten so far, but they have. Let's actually take a look at their run maybe and see who they knocked out, because I know they knocked out the Rangers, who also weren't very good in the conference finals, so we were going to play a cheese team regardless at that point. But they also knocked out the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs en route to the Stanley Cup Finals. I am curious on where those teams finished, out of curiosity, because maybe it'll show us if we're able to beat them or not. So they knocked out the best team in the Eastern Conference. That's a big scare for me. They also knocked out the 4th best team, and they also knocked out the 7th best teams. So basically the conference finals is the easiest point for them, but the first 2 rounds were much tougher, so that's a bit scary on its own right. Also, the Islanders made the playoffs with even a worse record, which is kind of funny. Okay, they were the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, yet they made the playoffs because I guess the Metropolitan Division was insanely weak. Yep, the Metro was very, very weak. You had only one team over 100 points. You go over to the Atlantic Division, and yeah, this Atlantic Division, like, the worst team in the Atlantic technically was as good as the 3rd best team in the Metro. That's actually kind of insane. So just a little bit of random stats to show you guys to start this episode, but let's show you guys what Buffalo's looking like on paper, and I'll get into your guys' comments about last episode. But Buffalo does look a lot better than that record actually suggests. As you can see, this is what they are rocking with. They have a very good center depth. They have Verada, Thompson, Cousins, second line Mangiapane, Krebs, and Panarin. Third line Parajogan, Benson, and Leeson, and a 4th line of Boyd, Tavares, and Grundstrom. So yeah, this is a very veteran-based team for the most part, but they have some very good center depth. Obviously, having John Tavares as a 4th line center is kind of hilarious, but he still has very good face-off stats. I mean, Zach Benson's really good still. Peyton Krebs is, and Thompson might be dropping off within the next few years, but right now he's at 23 points through 15 games. So very good offensive core. Their defense is also very solid too, especially on the left side with Darlene, Power, Salo. The right side's a little bit weaker, but that's okay. They have Honka, I don't know how it's pronounced, Perique, I think? Yeah, something like that. And Johansson. And then from a goalie perspective, Devin Levi is between the pipes. So they have some good players in every single position, which is a little bit scary. So I'm hoping that we're able to beat them. Now, what's kind of funny is also in the last episode when I was looking through the roster, I called Alex Turcotte a bust because he's a 76 at 30. And then, of course, that same day, he actually scored his first NHL goal with the LA Kings. So shout out to Alex Turcotte. Kind of funny how that ends up happening. But yeah, so that's what Buffalo is looking like. And I am a little bit scared. I mean, our team has been very good up to this point, but you never know what they could do against a team that maybe shouldn't have made the playoffs. Well, I'd say Buffalo should have made the playoffs, but they should have been much better than what their record suggests. But this is what our team's looking like going into the finals. Everybody on this team has been doing a very good job in terms of helping out with the offensive load, the defensive load, goaltending-wise. So I'm hoping that could continue in this finals, obviously, because if we could just win 4 more games, we could claim our 2nd cup. and it would be with a completely different roster than our first cup, because nobody on this roster, I believe, was even on this team or even drafted at that point in time, which is kind of funny. Maybe some of them were drafted, but they weren't in the NHL or AHL at that point in time, I'm pretty certain. So pretty interesting there. So that's what our roster is looking like going into this cup finals. Let's get into your guys' comments now, and to waste no time, obviously we want to see what happens with this team and what ends up happening in this cup finals. So the first two comments are from Michael Dose, who says, why wouldn't you bring in a player from the AHL, Millstorp? You place them in the same line as where the injured player was playing. I would think you have moved defenders up a line and slide Millstorp to the third line. And to me, it doesn't really matter too much. Sometimes I do that, but obviously if the chemistry is already good, it doesn't really affect where I put in the depth players. Like Millstorp's not in the lineup right now, but when he was in the lineup, he basically took where Kyrou technically was. And the reason being is because that actually had a good chemistry boost. Now, if McAvoy was actually a better fit on that top line, like right now, he is, I guess, a good fit on that top line, but there was some sort of pairing that didn't really work out well with moving McAvoy up. I think it was because maybe Vandermeer or Palin was injured, something like that, but something just didn't work out. Maybe it was because Nordstrom was on the top pairing at that point in time, but something didn't work with McAvoy being a top pairing defender, so I just decided to keep him up there, and it still worked out well. So I just kind of make sure the chemistry is at least good. It doesn't really matter too much if the guy gets dropped down or not, but sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Michael also says, by the way, Randy Orton is still in the WWE with his RKO, because I mentioned about how our team basically, I think it was when we scored the 5 goals in the second period, we kind of had like an RKO out of nowhere, because it was just completely quiet, and all of a sudden we just completely blew up the Anaheim Ducks, which was pretty amazing to see. And then our last and final comment is from Sanaro Otaku, who says, your reaction to the first period of Game 4 was priceless. If the stats are correct, you would be the 8th team all-time to score 6 goals in one period in a playoff game, and the first since 1991. The last 2 games for Anaheim have to be among the worst collapses in playoff history as well. Again, I don't want to make any predictions, but if this team reaches the top, who wins playoff MVP? If he continues his current trajectory, my pick would be Dag, but it's rare to see the sim engine handed to a goalie. If not him, there's at least 3 to 4 other players that make strong cases, though at any point it's probably Stankoven's to lose. And yeah, we have had like so many good players in this cup run that I honestly don't know who I would say would be the number 1 Conn Smythe candidate. Obviously, Gabriel Dag has been very good at points. He's got a .931 save percentage. But then you also look at guys like Aiden Irving, who's on 20 points. You look at guys like Michael Misu, who's on 21. Constellanius on 18. Like, there's just so many good players on this team. It's just hard to pick one. So I'm very curious to see who the game is going to give it to if we end up winning the Stanley Cup. Also, about that stat line that you mentioned, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't find any of those stats out, so I appreciate you looking for some information on that, because I didn't realize there was a lot of teams that actually had 6 goals in the first period. And of course, it had to be back in the early 90s, because obviously the offense in the NHL was not very good once you got to the middle stage of the 90s, and obviously to the earlier 2000s, like during the dead puck era. So that's kind of an interesting stat line. Now that that is done, let's get into this Cup Finals and see if we could get 4 more wins. I feel kind of skeptical just because of the fact that we're playing a team that shouldn't have made the playoffs based on their record. But you never know. You never know. We're going in on a 3-game winning streak again, but we've been dominating in those stances. Like, I don't know what Buffalo's done scoring-wise in their last few games against the Rangers, but I definitely think it's going to be a very tough task for our team. Even though they were kind of a mid-team during the regular season, they definitely show on paper that they're a good team, and they've been simulating great in these playoffs. So without further ado, let's get to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. We're going to keep our roster the exact same, obviously, considering we've been firing on all cylinders these last 3 games. If we could win some games on home ice, that would be a great way to start this Cup Finals. So let's see what happens. Can we do it? Can we win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup? It comes down to getting 4 wins. Hopefully we could do that. First period of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And it's 2-2. I will take that. I guess they scored first. Tage Thompson less than a minute in, which is not ideal. Groshek ties the game up. Stankoven gives us our first lead of the Cup Finals. And then Anthony Honka with a later goal as well ties it at 2. Shots are 12-8 in favor of Buffalo. So we scored 2 goals on 8 shots, which is kind of surprising. And Gabriel Dag made 10 saves in the first period. So both goalies kind of struggling out of the gate. Hopefully we could have a better defensive period soon, though, because I don't really want to be getting into an offensive shootout with the Buffalo Sabres based on their roster. I would prefer to have kind of maybe Good offensive game from our side, and our defense to start playing good like it had been doing in the last few games. So let's see what we could do in period number 2. Second period. It is 4-2 Jets. What a period. 2 more power play goals. Our power play has been awesome. Aiden Irving and Charlie McAvoy. Charlie, I will call him again just because Massachusetts people. But shots are 22-21 in favor of Buffalo, but we're up by a pair of goals. We scored 2 goals from almost identical spots on the ice, which is interesting. Let's see if we can lock this one down in the third period. It's been a very solid game up to this point in time. It would be just nice to get some insurance here if we can. Come on, boys. Just lock it down now. Just play good defense at least first. That 5th goal isn't important. It's defense that probably is. So, final few minutes. We're still up by a pair of goals, and we are going to lock it down, and we're going to win 4-2 in Game 1 of the Cup Finals. That's a great way to start it off. We had 37 shots in this game. We only scored 4 goals, but that doesn't matter too much. And we only gave up 2 on 33, so another very good game from Gabriel Dag. So, Groshek's 11th from Knack and Misa, Stankoven from Perfetti and Lucius, Irving from Stankoven and Hellenius, and McAvoy from Groshek and McLeod. See, like, literally everybody on this team is helping out with this roster, which is awesome. Dag gets 1st star, Groshek to 2nd star, and Stankoven to 3rd star. So that's the textbook way to start off the Stanley Cup Finals. Good offense and good defense. We've been allowing 2 or less goals per game in our last 4 games ever since that 6-5 loss to the Ducks. So that's a very good way to start off the Cup Finals. Luke Misa was never injured. And now we are 13-3 in this playoff run. And we're 3 wins away. We got to keep obviously on that momentum because Buffalo could surprise us probably at any moment. I think we're going to keep the team the exact same. It's been going well so far. It's like pointless to kind of make any adjustments. Obviously, if we lose multiple games in a row, then maybe I'll go to making some adjustments. But right now, everything's been working out well for our team. So let's see what happens. In Game 2, we're still on home ice. Can we take a 2-0 series lead to Buffalo? Because that would be a textbook way to start it off. First period of game number 2. 2-0 Buffalo. Not ideal. Last game, obviously, they scored 2 goals in the first period as well. So Gabriel Dag seems to get off to a little bit of slow starts, but then he finds himself in the second or third period. So we need a good response to that. Verada scores first, and then they get a short-handed goal from Travis Boyd, which is not a goal we want to give up, especially that late in the period, and also the fact that we were on the power play at that point. Shots are 12-11 in favor of the Sabres. We need a good response in the second period if we want to get back into this game. Second period. It is 3-1 Buffalo. Aiden Irving pulled us within 1, but another late goal against. This time from Rasmus Dahlin with 40 seconds left. And we're down by a pair of goals once again. We're out shooting them 20-19 or 21-19, but we're down by a pair of goals. Can we find a way to get back into this game in the third period, or is Buffalo going to find a way to shut us out? Come on, let's see if we can get back into this. Come on, boys. Penalty kill. Don't take penalties against Buffalo, please. You have a really good power play unit. Power play for us. We do not score on it. That would have been a nice one to get a power play goal on, but we didn't. Final few minutes, still down by a pair of goals. There's a goal from Cole Perfetti late. Can we tie it up, though? No, we cannot. We lose by 1 goal, so we almost got back into that game. But unfortunately, we're going to lose 3-2 in Game 2, and Buffalo has taken one of our home games, which means we need to do the same to them. That's not great. It was a good defensive effort again, I'd say, for the most part, but our offense needs to be a little bit better than that. Irving from Vandermeer and Misa, and then Perfetti from Lucius and Stankoven. 3 stars of the game. Perfetti actually got 2nd star, and then it was just Sabres guys. So Gabriel Dag doesn't even get a star in that game, but let me take a look at his stat line. Yeah, it could be a little bit better. It wasn't terrible by any standard, but we definitely need a way to score more than 2 goals in a game, if possible. And like I said, we need to find a way to win a game in Buffalo, because obviously if we lose both games in Buffalo, we're not in an ideal situation. I might make actually some adjustments already, which might be overthinking things, but we definitely need to make sure our team can get going as much as possible here. But the question is, what the hell do I do? Let's split up Hellenius, Irving, and Misa, and then put Hellenius to the second line. I don't really know exactly because there's not really much I can do. Knack has been great defensively, so I'm going to keep him in the lineup. Just trying to look at the plus minuses. Everything's been really good with this team so far, so I don't really want to make too much adjustments. Nordstrom's an even 0 through 6 games. That's fine. Gabriel Deg obviously has a .930 save percentage, which is great. There's not really much I can do to readjust this roster a bit, so we're just going to do a subtle change like that to our top 6 just to see if we could get some more offense going, because 2 goals against the Buffalo Sabres is not ideal. Hopefully we can respond and get back to our offensive ways we were like against the Ducks, because obviously we dictated the offense in that series. We technically are still outscoring Buffalo after 2 games, so 6-5, I think. Yeah, 6-5, so we are still doing better than the offensively, but we definitely need still to find ways to win on the road here, and it starts here in Game 3. If we can win this game, I'll be pretty happy, because obviously if we lose both these games, like I said before, we're in a very bad spot if we're down 3-1, so we need to find a way to win at least one of these games on the road in Buffalo. Can we do it? Come on, boys, please. Let's get back to our offensive ways. And we scored immediately, and I haven't even pressed A yet. First period. 1-0 us. Aiden Irving again. Aiden Irving's got 3 goals in 3 games to start this Cup Finals. He's been very good up to this point in time. That goal was 12 seconds into the period, and nobody else scored after that. Shots are 12-8 in favor of the Sabres, so they're outplaying us, but we're up by a goal. It would be very nice if we could get some insurance in the second period to give us a little bit more breathing room for the third period if possible. Second period. 3-1 us. Let's go. Misa and Lucius score. We were up 3-0, and then Dylan Cousins gets the Sabres on the board. Shots are 25-19 in favor of Buffalo, but we're up by a pair of goals. Now we need Gabriel Deg to lock it down, our defense to lock it down, and maybe our offense to get one more goal just to play it safe. Let's see what happens in this third period, see if we could lock this game down. Penalty kill. Nicely done, boys. That's what we need from our penalty killers. And there's a big goal from Cole Perfetti to put us up by 3. That's exactly what I kind of wanted from this team, is to get that next one just in case. As Peyton Krebs makes it a 4-2 game, Irving makes it a 5-2 game. Good response to giving up that goal. And your Winnipeg Jets are a couple minutes away. Thompson makes it 5-3. Cairo makes it 6-3. A very offensive third period, but we're going to win 6-3. And we have taken a game in Buffalo, which is exactly what we needed to do. So there's a good offensive game and a solid goaltending performance, because we got outshot 37-29, but we outscored them by 3 goals. So in that third period, it was Perfetti, Irving, and Christian Cairo with the goals. Let's go, boys. That's a good response. That's exactly what we kind of needed. And that's why we needed some insurance markers in that third period as well. Irving from Misa and Lucius. Misa from Lucius and Irving. Lucius from Misa and Irving. Perfetti from Cairo. Irving from Lucius and Cairo from Jacuzzi and McLeod. So Irving had a lot of points in that game, it seems like. Yeah, him and Lucius both on 4 points in that game. You had Misa and Cairo on 3 points, so some of our top players showed up drastically. And then our fourth line and Perfetti showed up as well, which is awesome. Any badly minus guys in that game? No minus players, love to see it. And a .919 save percentage from Gabriel Deg, which is exactly kind of what we needed. Irving the first star, Lucius the second star, and Michael Misa the third star. Love to see it when your top guys show up in a playoff game. That's exactly what we want to see. We have scored 6+ goals in multiple games this playoff run. I don't think the AHL team is still in the playoffs, so I'm just going to go best lines. I think they got eliminated in round 1. But, yeah, we are 2 wins away. We got to find a way to get 2 wins before they get 3. That is doable. I think we got to keep the team the same after that, because technically at this point in time we have 12 goals to their 7. So we've been doing pretty good up to this point in time. Let's keep the team the exact same for this game. If we win this game, we are 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. Can we win another game in Buffalo to give us a really good chance? Come on, guys, you got this. Build off last game. First period. 3-1 Jets. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Lucius, Ryan McLeod, and Perfetti. We were up 3-0 really early on, and then they scored shortly after from Travis Boyd. That was a lot of goals in a short span. 16 minutes, 15 minutes, 12, and 12. So nobody scored after the 8-minute mark of the first period, I guess. Shots are 14-11 in favor of us, so we're outplaying them. We have the goal lead, but we're only up by 2, which is not great. So just to play it safe, have a good defensive period so we feel a little bit safer. Maybe get some insurance just to make it even better for us to have a better chance to win in that third period. Second period. 3-2. See, that's what I mean. We don't want them to claw back into this game. We're only up by a goal now. After we had a 3-0 lead at one point, I'm kind of scared about that. Shots are 26-24 in favor of Buffalo. So they're out shooting us. So far, Gabriel Deg has had a pretty solid game. We need our offense to do what it did in that first period because we have not scored since the early stages of that first period. Let's see what happens in this third period. See if we could get some insurance to make me feel a bit more safe than a 1-goal lead. Come on, boys. You got this. We're halfway through the period at the exact same score line so far. Can we get some insurance? Yes, we can. Luke Misa scores on Arvid Holm, who was put in for some reason. Groshek scores as well. We're up 5-2. And we're going to be 1 win away from winning the Stanley Cup with this young roster. I'm actually really surprised that we're able to get this far. Obviously, we could still lose 3 straight games, but this team is very close to winning a Stanley Cup in a President's Trophy in the same season, which is something I have not done in a very long while. Lucius from Cairo and Irving, McLeod from Jacuzzi and Knack, Perfetti from Hellenius and Stankoven. Then you had Luke Misa from Cairo and Kagorodov, Groshek from Kagorodov and Cairo. Like, just everybody on this team has been friggin' amazing. It's kind of crazy. Christian Cairo with another 3-point game. You had Kagorodov on 2 points and a bunch of guys on 1 point to help get us that win. Love to see it. And another very good effort from Gabriel Dag. 3 stars of the game. Arvid Holm got first star of the game. That seems kind of weird. Oh well. Gabriel Dag the second star and Cairo the third star. Why did they start Arvid Holm in that game? Did Devin Levi get injured? He only played 7 minutes. Oh no, he got pulled because he allowed 3 goals on 6 shots. That's why. So yeah, Devin Levi got pulled because he was very bad. Buffalo almost came back in that game, but we hold them off, and now we're 1 win away from winning the Stanley Cup, which has been a very dominant team to get to this point. We are 15-4. If we could just get 1 more win, we have claimed our prize. It's been not too long since we won our last Stanley Cup, but still, this is kind of crazy that this team's able to get it done. Like, I wonder what the average age of our roster is. Like, I'll probably show you guys the ages after this in a way, just so we can kind of calculate how old this team was if they do win a Stanley Cup. Because there's a good chance that we're going to win it this year, but there's also a chance, obviously, we could lose 3 straight games because this game tends to crap on people sometimes. So we got to keep the team the exact same. We've been scoring goals the last 2 games and not allowing a lot either. We've scored 11 in the last 2 games, and we've only given up 5. Let's see if we can close out Buffalo on home ice and win our 2nd Stanley Cup of the series already at this point in time. Let's get it done, boys. We can do it. Let's do it for our fans since we're on home ice. First period of game number 5. 3-0 us. Let's go. What a start. Man, this team is awesome. This might be one of my favorite teams I've put together based on how they assimilate in the playoffs. Kagorodov making it 1-0. Michael Misa making it 2. And Philip Groshek makes it 3-0. The shots are 15-12 in favor of us. Devin Levi might be still in net, but he is not having a good time against us, which, I mean, what goaltender would have a good time against this team that we've put together? Very good first period. Obviously, if we play good defensively in the second period, we will set ourselves up for a good spot. We technically don't need more goals, but obviously Buffalo could strike out of nowhere. So it'd be best to kind of just find a way to let them suffocate and die, you know. Second period. There we go. There we go. Irving 4-0. That's probably the one that would help us lock this series down. Let's go to 8-time simulation. We'll intervene, obviously, if we have a chance to win the Stanley Cup, which is likely to happen. Let's see if we can win this cup in front of our home fans. It's been a dominant run. Verrata makes it 4-1. That's okay. But yeah, it's been a dominant run for this team. winning the President's Trophy, and now they're only a few minutes away from winning a Stanley Cup, though Peyton Krebs gets Buffalo on the board to make it 4-2. We are already going to intervene just because I want to make sure that we get to capture this on video, of course. We got to go with our reverse retros, the best jersey the Jets have ever had. Don't at me on about that. And we will give Buffalo their blue jerseys. Yeah, sure, why not? And I will remove my face from the screen just because obviously you guys probably would rather see the gameplay. So let's see if we could close them out. We're up by a pair of goals, so we should be able to, unless Gabriel Deg has his worst last few minutes of a game ever. Okay, here we go. 6:42 left in the third period. Looking to close out the Sabres and win our second cup of the series. And first with this young roster. Jaqueezi throws a shot to the net that's turned away. Devin Levi is still in net, looks like, because I'm pretty sure he's number 27. Salo throws it up. Here's Dylan Cousins. Get back defensively, boys. Oh, great save there by Deg with the glove. Stopping Dylan Cousins. Buffalo's probably going to get some pressure here down in these last few minutes of the game, as obviously they're going to win. And look at our offense. We have 4 guys in the top 5 in scoring. I honestly have no idea who's going to win the Conn Smythe. No idea. Do you give it to Gabriel Deg based on how good he's been goaltending-wise, or do you give it to somebody that's been crazy good offensively? There's just so many different candidates on this team. I feel like the Conn Smythe is kind of more resemblance of the entire team than one player. It's kind of crazy. Cousins with it again. Over to Thompson. They have their top line out there. Oh, yikes. That was almost a backhand on net. Verada with it. It's kind of funny seeing a Verada in Buffalo because I'm thinking of Vaclav Verada. Anthony Honka with it now. Rasmus Dahlin going back into his own zone. And now they have the breakout again. Come on, guys. We're getting a little bit outplayed here since we've intervened, but that's okay. Nice block shot there. You kind of expect Buffalo to be putting on the pressure anyways. Nice block shot there by Aiden Irving. Love to see the forwards even blocking shots. That's great sacrificing. Gabriel Deg with another big save. And we're down into the final 2 minutes of this third period. Still up by a pair of goals. Oh, they're already showing a cutscene of the guy going to grab the Stanley Cup. Hopefully they're not speaking too soon. There is the dude. And there is the Stanley Cup. That might be ours. Also with some caution, wet floor signs, which is kind of funny. Aiden Irving up there in hits. Love to see it. Him and Hellenius. Didn't really expect Hellenius to be up there, but Irving makes sense since he's a power forward. Cairo Vandermeer out there now on the defensive side of things. Good little hit there. Michael Misa, I think that is, because we said he was 76 last time we watched. Here comes Vandermeer, the offensive defenseman, walking in, finding Chaz Lucius. A shot, he scores. What a snipe. And what a play by Vandermeer. Chaz Lucius adds insult to injury with a beautiful shot. And we're up by 3 goals now in the final minute of this third period as well. That was a beautiful goal. Just shows the skill of our team. Vandermeer's only getting started as an offensive defenseman, and then we have all these amazing players on our forward core. And Lucius has moved in to first in points. So is there a chance Chaz Lucius is your Conn Smythe winner? Or are they going to give it to somebody else? Man, I don't even believe the fact that we're going to win the Stanley Cup and the President's Trophy in the same season. Because, like I said, I have not done that, I think, since probably when I had my Arizona franchise. I don't remember if I did both those at the same time. Oh my goodness. Cairo just got blown up by Owen Power. Owen Power is looking to knock somebody to the golf course, apparently, where he's going to be going shortly. Oh my goodness, and Krebs breaks the glass on the next shot. Jeez. Okay. We're into the final 12 seconds at least. And yeah, we're up by 3 goals, which means the cup is definitely ours. I'm really surprised, like I said. I don't think you guys really thought this was going to happen either. Our team was good on paper and when we won the President's Trophy, obviously, but we didn't expect to have a good run in the playoffs too, because that seems to rarely happen. Gabriel Deg making a nice save there. 1.6 seconds left, so the next face-off. Cole Perfetti comes out, the captain of the team. I didn't even choose him as captain, but I think he's a good candidate at least. And he will tie up on the draw. And there you go. Your Winnipeg Jets have won the Stanley Cup for the second time in franchise history. Second time probably in the last 10 seasons. I don't know how much seasons we're into this, but let's go. We have flown to the top of the earth, I guess. I don't even know really how to explain these Jets, but whatever. This team has just been, like, amazing in all facets of the game. Goaltending, defense, offense, you name it. It's just been there every single game of those playoffs almost. And Chaz Lucius is going to get the Conn Smythe with the 30 points in the playoff run. Was that goal that he scored in the last minute the one that gave him it? Or was it already his to begin with? Now the question is, who's going to be getting the Stanley Cup and stuff in this celebration? Because I'm not going to be choosing. I'm going to let the AI decide. And I think literally anybody on this team deserves a chance to get that troll with the Stanley Cup. So going to be interesting to see what the AI decides to choose. Here comes Captain Cole Perfetti. Happy to get that Stanley Cup. I guess Perfetti's been on both Cup winning teams, actually. He's the only one that has. Because he would have been there in our first Cup win, too, I'm pretty sure. There he is, celebrating with it. Let's go. In front of the home fans as well. Love to see it. In front of the 15,000, I think, that the arena holds at Canada Life Center. Who is he going to pass it off to? There's a lot of good names. Not really on the list, surprisingly. But he's going to pass it off to... Let's see. Going to pass it off to Aiden Irving. That's exactly one of the players I wanted to see with the Stanley Cup. The alternate captain, Aiden Irving. What a draft pick this guy has become. He's scored a lot of goals in his career already at this point in time. Shown his leadership abilities. Maybe a future captain for this team if Perfetti ends up leaving at some point. But Aiden Irving, the man, number 14. Who is he going to pass it off to? Let's see. He is going to pass it off to... Michael Misa. That's another really good one. The other alternate captain. There's no wrong answer to who you want to pass the cup off to. So there is Michael Misa. One of the two Misa brothers. This is the first team probably to win a Stanley Cup with brothers since the Anaheim Ducks in 2007 with the Niedermeyer brothers, my guess. Which is pretty crazy to say. Obviously because they beat my Auto Centers back in those days, but who cares about that? And who is Misa passing it off to? He is going to pass it off to Arthur Jaquizi. So we aren't even going to see Gabriel Degg with the Stanley Cup, which is kind of weird. But Arthur Jaquizi, the young fourth line guy, gets the Stanley Cup. And that just shows the depth on our roster. Literally anybody on this team could get that troll with the Stanley Cup. And there is Jaquizi celebrating with it. Number 44. That is an awesome roster. Let's go. This might be one of my favorite Cup teams. Just based on the age. And there you go, Charlie McAvoy as well, front and center too. Don't forget about him. There is the team. Whoever has that gray beard is probably only like 23. And now we get to see the names on the Stanley Cup. Obviously, we can't forget about the injury players and stuff like that that are on our roster right now too. Let's see those names on that Stanley Cup for the second time. Well, at least for Perfetti. The rest of these players, I think, have never won a Stanley Cup. Some of them might have came close in the AHL to win cups, but there we go. Perfetti, Anunin, Degg, Galvis, Groshek, Hellenius, Irving, Yakula, Jaquizi, Kegrodov, Knack, Kyrou, Laferriere, Lucius, McAvoy, McLeod, Misa, Nilstorp, Nordstrom, Palin, Stankoven, Vandermeer, and Vernarski's the one that's currently injured. So that is our cup winning roster based on that. And now we can put my face back on the screen. Aiden Irving will get the third star of the game with a goal and assist. He also blocked a shot in the last few minutes. Degg the second star with a great performance yet again. A .944 save percentage. And the first star of the game, Chaz Lucius, with 3 points to give himself that Conn Smythe. So that last game, I think, decided it for sure for him. Let's go. Let's take a look at our player stats, though. So Lucius on 3 points, a couple guys on 2 points, and then Vandermeer had the 1 assist on that goal that we saw. Was there any minus players in that last game? Nope, none whatsoever. What a performance again from this team. Let's take a look at our player stats. This is going to be the interesting part, is our player stats. I'm also going to try and look at how old everybody is on our team, so then I could calculate before I put this video out on how old our team is average age-wise. Charlie, why did you just lose morale because of ice time? We just won the Stanley Cup, man. Wow. The Stanley Cup and a President's Trophy in the same season. You don't see it all the time, but when you do, it's an amazing sight. Wait, is the season fully done, or is the AHL still playing? The AHL is still playing a little bit longer, it looks like. There we go. We have won the Stanley Cup, and Grand Rapids is going to win the Calder Cup, so that's Detroit's AHL team. let's take a look at the awards. And actually, let's take a look at our run to the Stanley Cup wins first. And we'll also take a look at our player stats. But there is our run to the Stanley Cup. We absolutely cruised to this Cup win. We swept the St. Louis Blues. We took out the defending Cup champion Blackhawks in 6 games. And then after that, we went 8-2 in our last 10 games to clinch the Stanley Cup. So what a run for this team. Let's take a look at these player stats, because they should be pretty damn amazing in terms of depth scoring. Like when you have Lucius on 30 points in 20 games, Stankoven and Misa on 27 points in 20 games, Perfetti on 21 points, Luke Misa on 16 even, Kagrodov on 10 points, McLeod had 9 points, including a couple shorthanded goals. Left wing wise, Grosek had 13 goals and 17 points. Right wing wise, Irving on 29 points and 14 goals, Hellenius on 20 points, Jaquizi on 7, Knack on 4, Yakla on 1 assist in 5 games. It's just incredible what this offensive core did, especially. Like, all these guys here were point per game or better. So 6 guys point per game or better. Then you had a couple guys in Grosek and Misa who are very close to point per game. And then it drops off after that. But offense, amazing. From the defensive side, I think Kyrou was over point per game as well, which is awesome from a defensive standpoint. And you had McAvoy on 14 points, Vandermeer on 9 points, Galvis on 3, Palin on 2, and Millstorp didn't pick up any in his little bit of games. Also, there was Nordstrom, who was, I guess, sent back down to the AHL, but he got to play a few games, it looks like, as well. And in goaltending-wise, Gabriel Dag, a .931 save percentage throughout the 16 playoff wins, which is amazing. Everybody on his team did a very big part in the win, which is awesome. So now let's take a look at those awards and wrap up the season. So yeah, we win the Stanley Cup, beating the former Stanley Cup champions in the second round, and the President's Trophy as well. It is doable. It just doesn't really happen that often. Let's freaking go. Matthews, the Art Ross, and the Hart, McCarr to Norris, Hughes, the Lady Bing. That Ferrario guy wins the Calder for San Jose. Chaz Lucius did win the Conn Smythe, it says now, for sure. I guess I wasn't sure if they were going to give it to somebody different when we got to this screen. And then we also had Shesterkin winning the Vezina for San Jose, Gustafsson winning the Jennings for Edmonton, Cam York for Pittsburgh winning the Masterton, okay. Rangers head coach won the Jack Adams, got themselves all the way to conference finals. Stutzlo another Selke, Matthews the Lindsay, and also the Richard. AHL-wise, do we have any awards? I don't think so, but you never know. Does not look like it. Okay. So what I wanted to take a look at now, because I don't think I'm going to go into the retirement stage yet. Maybe I should go to... no, I don't know if I'm going to go to retirement stage. I don't want this episode being insanely long for you guys, but maybe I should. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, I wanted to take a look at the ages of everybody that was on this Cup-winning roster so we could kind of figure out the average age of this team. So I'm just going to skim through this, and then I'll probably put a number up on the screen soon, but you can see most of these guys are younger than 28, or 28 and younger, I should say. Yeah, Grosek, who was only 22. You had Knack, who was the oldest right winger, yet he was a depth option mostly. Craziness defensively. Yeah, man, we were a very young team, and we won the Stanley Cup. And then if we go to in the system too, we had Nordstrom, who was 23 on our Cup-winning roster. Was there anybody else? Laferriere, who was 29. Anybody else? No. So yeah, in general, I think if I look at a roster here on paper, our average age has to be like 27, 26, my guess. Because like we only had 2 guys that were older than 30 on the forward/defensive core, and 1 30-year-old goaltender. So I think we're definitely in like the 27, 28 range, something like that. Maybe even younger than that because of all these guys here. So that is craziness. So there is that. I guess we do have enough time because this is only like 39 minutes in. So let's simulate up to the retirements and all that stuff, get the season fully wrapped up. And we'll take a look at the draft class, the progress reports, and the contract situation, just because obviously we want to know about that for next season. I don't know how much more seasons we should do of this series, because I feel like we could turn this team into a dynasty, but also at the same time, it would be a good idea to maybe not have the series run all the way till the end, but it would be at the same time. So Washington's going to win the draft lotteries. They move from 8 to 1. Talk about Alex Ovechkin logic. Columbus at number 2, Calgary at 3, Vegas at 4, and Seattle at 5. Okay. So there is a draft lottery. Retirement-wise, I don't think we even will have anybody close to retirement. Yeah, we don't. But let's take a look at who retired around the league. So John Tavares retires after losing to us in the Stanley Cup Finals. Did he ever win a Stanley Cup in his career? Let's see. He might have with Toronto at one point. If he did not, I feel like a douche, but oh well. Hurdle, Domi, okay. Wow, we're already getting in a stage where guys like Domi are retiring. That's crazy. Yeah, we're not going to have any retirements probably, but still, I want to just skim through this anyways, just in case you guys want to know about any of these players. Right wing wise, Tyler Toffoli. Over 1,000 points for Toffoli. Love to see it. Former 67s legend. There you go. Defensively, Seth Jones, the best defenseman. Same with Tyson Barrie up there. Some pretty solid defenders. So there's that. And the best goalie retired, John Gibson. Also Merzlikins, Grubauer, etc. Okay, so there's the retirement pool. Coach retirement-wise, did we lose anybody? Because this would be an important thing to look at. We did lose Wojtek Lebda, which it might be one of our goalie coaches, but that's easy to replace. Let's take a look at, I guess, the next stage, which is the progress reports. Probably a lot of statistical growth, my guess. Vandermeer up to an 86, and that is natural growth. I love to see that. A lot of statistical growth on the other players. Stankoven has dropped back down to an 85, which is interesting. Huh. Okay. Wilson up to a 79. Wilson should probably be in the NHL next season, but I don't know where I'm going to slot this guy in. And I don't really know who I want to let go of on this team to make up room for some guys, because this team was such a great team. Like, it's going to be hard to let go of some people. For sure. But in the AHL, in the system, Stanley King up to a 75 at 19, which is awesome. We also have Scarlett, who's a 78 at 22, so listed probably as a backup, which means we should probably get those guys in soon. In terms of defensive prospects, Guerrero up to a 64 at 21. Not great. Anybody insanely good down there? Well, we do have Jimmy Scarlett, who has to make his NHL debut still. Nilstorp's one of these guys that could get traded because he's not really much. He's like a depth defenseman. We have Nordstrom, who's kind of more of a depth defenseman as well. Louis Vara could be cracking our blue line next season. There's so many good players still. Fairchild up to a 72 at 21 because he was the overager we drafted in round 1 before. Yakula's another guy that could just get traded if his rights or something like that. I don't know exactly. What else we got here? Lannon up to a 73 at 19. We have a couple low leads who are 72 at 21, which is not ideal. Looks like some of our prospects aren't developing the best, but that's okay. We have Varanto, who's a 76 at 23. Bickle 71 at 21. Yeah, it seems like some of our low leads are kind of stunting a bit, but that's okay, I guess. Next thing that we got to take a look at is the contract situation, because I honestly don't remember who's up for renewal this off season. Charlie McAvoy, oh yeah, right. We gave Charlie a 1-year deal. Do we bring him back again for one more year? 12.6. He's still going to try and get a lot of money. We do have Groshek up for renewal, which is a very costly one, but he needs to get into our top 6 probably to be that guy. So we might have to think about trading somebody in our top 6 to get him up there if we wanted to lock him up long term. We also have Kagorodov, which he is not very expensive. He's a good solid third liner though. Ryan McLeod's an interesting one because he was a very good defensive fourth line center. We could easily bring him back for that cost. There's also Knack and LaFerriere, so the depth options. Yakula still has RFA rights, but we could always trade them because he's not really much. Nilstorp, same type of boat, and then the rest of the guys are AHLers mostly. So we have a lot of decisions to make on that front. Goalie-wise, Gabriel Deg's an RFA for I think only one more year. No, it's actually for a few more years. But of course, as you would expect, he wants to get paid after his performance. Not a surprise. And Noonan could easily leave, and Scarlett could become the backup next season. I don't mind that. And then we'd probably run Grant and King in the AHL. So there is that. And final thing, let's take a look at the draft class. Not that it really matters too much. Do we still have our first round pick? I think we do, right? Yeah, we still have a good amount of picks. 1 first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, a 4th, 5th, and a 7th. Okay. Let's take a look at this draft class. See if there's anything interesting that we could steal. We could always try and move up to snag random players, but I think it's kind of pointless considering we just won a Stanley Cup. But let's see what we could potentially get. Obviously, we're picking last in the first round. Ew, medium top 9s. Not really a fan of that. There is Kulikov, who I pinned, who looks actually pretty good in 2 years out. Medium top 6. Alexander Kulikov could easily be one of our selections if we want to. Magnus Omark looks okay, but he's a little bit longer out, but still not bad. We also have Stefan Riesen. Looks okay. And another guy in Timothy Zigomanis. 4 years out. So probably the 2-year out guy would be the best bet. There's also potentially a medium elite goaltender, but he's 19. Any guaranteed low elites for later rounds or medium elites for later rounds? No medium elites guaranteed. What about low elites? We'd love ourselves some low elites always. No guarantees. But Sergei Semin, who I pinned, could be a low elite, might not be. He's supposed to go late first round. Nikita Loktyanov. No guarantees on him. Bob Bloodoff. No guarantees. Yeah, this might not be the best draft class, to be honest. But that's okay, considering we just won a Stanley Cup. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So it was great for us to get that Stanley Cup win. Obviously, with such a young roster, we could easily try and go for a couple more cups before we end the series. If you guys want me to, we could try and turn this team into a dynasty, try and win at least like 2 or 3 in a 5-year span before we decide to see if we want to end the series or not. But I'm really happy with how this team performed. Obviously, winning the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup, I didn't think it was possible, really. But our team managed to do so, and we did it very convincingly. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.